gamers. Today we'll be talking about, we just had a big tournament that happened, the LAN tournament in Denmark, and I want to talk about the win rates and how well the civs did. We actually don't have the statistics from the group stage, we only have statistics from the playoffs, but I'm just gonna give you like general opinion of the civs right now. I feel like for most of the players, even though I don't have the exact numbers, we kind of know how the civs did, right? So let's start with the most basic one, English. I think English maybe saw one game, if even. I can't remember. But English was not played at all. Not really surprising in the last tournament. The reason for that is on the land maps, it's a little bit slow. And then on the water maps, well, it's actually decent on Holy Island, but there was no Holy Island games in the tournaments. Even though the map was there, it was always vetoed or banned or you know, whatever else, right? English, not picked. I don't think anyone really practiced it. I played it in some on water maps. I know some of the other players did, but like I said, we had no Holy Island games, so it is what it is. The next one we'll talk about is going to be French. Now, French was, I feel like, I'm not going to do like a tier list right now because I will do a separate tier list video, but French specifically in the tournament, I feel like performed decent. Quite a few players did pick it, but it is one of those picks where not everyone was playing French. And this is something you'll hear me say quite a bit. There was some civs that everyone was playing, and there were some civs that people kind of either specialized in them or they enjoyed playing them or whatever else. So from top of my head that played French was like Louis, me, Marine Lord, I think Vortex played as well French, but not everybody was like insta-locking it or picking it like immediately or anything like that. Next one is going to be Mongol. So Mongol definitely was a very specialized civ, and I feel like not everybody was playing it. I was one of the players that played Mongol quite a bit on hybrid maps and did quite well with it. But Mongol was not played on the land maps. It was mostly played on hybrid maps, which is usually where Mongol is played in general, or like to snipe Byzantine or something. But it did have its uses, I feel like. But once again, it wasn't like a priority pick. Just like French, but I think it did pretty decent. Now the biggest surprise, or actually biggest surprise in terms of underperforming, was Rus. So if you guys don't know, Rus has been considered like an S tier civ for a very long time. Rus did terrible in this tournament. I'm not sure what the end win rate was, like maybe it was like a 3-8 or 3-9, 2-8, something like that, but it started off 0-6. This is a civ that people were like first picking kind of thing. So it was either like banned or first picked, and then it just ended up losing almost every single game in the group stage. And I think when Rus went, like when we went out of the group stage, the Rus was like 1-7. Rus did really bad. Now, I'll give my take on why this is, because even when Rus was doing badly, people still kept picking it. Because in practice, Rus did really well, right? I mean, that's why you pick it first or second. Rus probably had like a 10-15% win rate in the tournament, even though it was played like pretty much every single series. I think the reason it underperformed is maybe people were in practice like not being as aggressive, or maybe where people were like trying different things against Rus. But it felt like in the tournament itself, everybody knew how to like counter the pro scouts and how to counter Rus in general. And people were like very to the point, you know, like they denied pro scouting. And it felt like usually the games you see is like Rus goes pro scouting, gets castle, makes horse archers, and then takes the map control. But in this tournament, everybody was just kind of like bullying Rus in feudal age, where Rus had to make units. And then once you make units, you're still struggling to get the deer, and then you get to castle, but it's kind of too late for horse archers. So it was like people going into knights. And I feel like it was just not even a meta switch. I think people just had very prepared picks for Rus from their practices. And I think Rus got a lot of bad matchups as well. When I say bad matchups is like people purposely try to snipe them, right? With civs that they were comfortable with. But we saw Rus dropping maps to like every civ. That's the thing. They lost games to Japanese, to Jushi Legacy, to HRE, to Delhi, kind of rough. And also Byzantine was considered one of the counter picks to Rus. So the Rus did terrible, but even all the way to the last day, people were still picking Rus and believing in Rus. So I kind of lost some hope in Rus towards the end of it, but I still think it's a good Civ. Maybe it was not as high value as we thought, like picking it first, but I think it's still worth like maybe third or fourth pick. So there it is. The next civilization we'll talk about is the Abbasid. Now Abbasid was played, if I remember correctly, once or twice on Frisian marches. It was played once on Kavasan, or maybe twice on Kavasan, but that's kind of it. So I think only 1 or 2 players were picking Abbasid. It was like a very specific pick for very specific maps, and if I recall correctly, they lost all the games. So Abbasid was like a Civ that was picked last. It's like nobody's picking it, and then you gotta pick a Civ, and Abbasid gets picked. Again, this has to do with the 2 towns that are just not being that great. So I think in the future, if 2TC is better, obviously Abbasid is gonna be better, but in the tournament, it was not picked. I know that players didn't really practice it or you know, prepare anything with Abbasid, so yeah. Next one is going to be Delhi, and Delhi is a really weird one. So I do think Delhi got picked quite a bit, which is kind of weird because I think in the, I don't know if it was the previous or the one before, Delhi was not picked at all. And this is very interesting. Why? This is why you gotta look at the maps in the tournaments and like statistics and stuff like that. So I think it was the previous tournament only had 2 maps where Delhi was viable, right? And basically sometimes you would have a draft in the previous, not in the Steel Series one, but the one before that in EGC. And basically sometimes you would have a series where there's only 1 good Delhi map. Like let's say it was Dry Arabia. And then if I pick Delhi, then the opponent knows, oh, he's gonna play Delhi on Dry Arabia, so Delhi would always basically eat a counter, right? So it was like not played almost at all because of that, because you could just counter it with like French or JD, Jushi, China, like you could counter it with a lot of Civs, and Delhi saw no play. Now in this one, there was more maps viable for Delhi. I think it was like 4 maps, but you could also play Delhi on coastal cliffs, which is not a good Delhi map, but because Rus was played there, Delhi could have been played there too. So Delhi saw a lot more play in this tournament. It was kind of used to snipe certain Civs and get certain matchups. Overall, I think I did all right. It did all right. I would probably put it maybe in the same tier as French, maybe slightly worse. Middle of the pack, if you will. Next one is going to be China. China had a 0% win rate. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. 0. China didn't win a single game because China wasn't played a single time. And you're wondering, oh, so is China really bad? No, China was first banned in every single series by both players in the whole tournament. So every single match that happened in the tournament, both players first banned China. So we actually did not see China played at all. And if you're wondering why China got banned, well, China is one of the best Civs on Holy Island. It's playable on hybrid maps. It's playable on any land map. It is just a very, very, very strong Civ. But we saw exactly 0 games from China. So, yeah, it's a very good Civ. Let me tell you that. Next one we'll be talking about is the Holy Roman Empire. Now, interesting, from the previous tournament, previous 2 tournaments to this one, actually previous 3 tournaments to this one, HRE saw a lot of play because we only had 3 bans. But the way it worked is you wanted to ban like KT and China, so HRE was open. So HRE was picked, I'm pretty sure every single series or banned. And HRE was either picked like 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. So HRE saw a lot of play. I do feel like it perhaps underperformed a little bit. Very similar to Rus. It wasn't that bad, but it did underperform for the kind of like the pick rate that it was picked. And what's interesting is I kind of wonder if, not that we overrated HRE and Rus, but maybe because it's been banned for so long, players are kind of not as good with those two civs anymore. Because I do believe both of those civs are good, Rus and HRE, but maybe just the players, even though we did practice it, we kind of haven't played, like I haven't played HRE prior to this tournament for like 6-7 months. Think about that. It's not like I haven't played it in 100 games. We haven't played it in like half a year because it was always banned in the previous tournament. So I feel like HRE is a very good civ. Probably didn't do as good as people thought it would. A lot of actually people didn't believe in HRE as much and purposely didn't pick it, but it was picked every single series very early. And overall, I think it obviously did a lot better than French or Delhi, for example, right? All right, the next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Malian. Malian was one of the civs that kind of got booted up in terms of pick rates. We actually saw Malian get picked quite often, pretty early, and it seemed that a lot of players, so how do I put this? I don't think Malian is overpowered, but a lot of players had Malian as their top pick. So they wouldn't first pick Malian, but they would pick it second or third in their draft. So we saw Malian picked, I think, every single series, and I think we even saw some bans on Malian. So I think out of 8 players at the LAN, probably like 6 players were picking Malian really, really early. Because it's all around just a good civ. I don't think it has any extreme weaknesses, and yeah, people just like playing it. So I would put Malian up there in terms of how good it performed at the tournament and how much it was picked as well. The next one is going to be Ottoman. Now this one comes back to not many players have played this civ. If I recall correctly, only 3 or 4 players play Ottoman. Marinlord Louis and Anotan play Ottoman. But I actually don't remember if anyone else did. I genuinely don't know how to play Ottoman. I didn't practice it for shit. But there were some players practicing it for just pure land maps. And in win rates, I don't think... WAM 2? Okay. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. But I do know that Ottoman did not do well win rate-wise. Because the games that I do remember Ottoman being played, it did lose. So maybe it was like a 1-4 or 2-5 win rate, something like that. So yeah, I don't think it did too well, but some players felt very confident in Ottoman, obviously. So just because they lost with a civ doesn't mean necessarily you shouldn't pick it again. It's just the sample size of the games is obviously very, very low. Next one we'll be discussing is going to be Byzantine. So Byzantine did really well and is up there with Malian in terms of pick prio. Some players picked it first or second in their draft. So Byzantine was played quite a bit. There's actually a new style with Byzantine. I don't know if I would say new as in like we just discovered it. It was a thing, but it is now more popular. And that style is horsemen into longbow, into fast castle, into cataphract plus longbow. And this comp, honestly, cataphract longbow might be the best comp in the game that you can have in castle. It is just so strong. Like the cataphracts never die and longbows can just kite forever. So that kind of style received a lot of popularity. You still see like the Limitane javelin thrower, Limitane longbow, but there was a lot of horses from Byzantine, and we saw also a lot of hippodrome from Byzantine as well. So, like I said, I think Byzantine performed really well. It was used in general as like a all-around pick, but it was also used to snipe certain picks as well. So it was up there, I would say, up there with Malian, with HRE, with well, Rus had a bad win rate, but with Rus in terms of how good it should be, right? Next one is Japanese. Now, I do plan to make a specific video discussing Japanese, so I'm gonna not talk about it too much right now because there's a lot of interesting things and thoughts I have about Japanese, but this was to me the biggest surprise in terms of how strong the civ is. And I feel like a lot of players underrated this civ quite a bit, including myself. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be, let's just do Ayyubid. Ayyubid was very similar to Ottoman. where not everybody played Ayyubid. Oftentimes it was like not picked at all until the end, but some players did like playing Ayyubid. There was like 4 or 5 of us that did play Ayyubid, that did practice Ayyubid. But Ayyubid was also used on land maps and hybrid maps with, I think, decent success. I think it had overall positive win rate, which is kind of cool because Ayyubid hasn't seen a positive win rate, I feel like, in tournaments in a while. So, way to go, Ayyubid. There's been some experimentation with the Gamba wing on hybrid maps. There's been a lot of eco wings, a lot of cultural wings, so a little bit of everything with Ayyubid, I feel like. Jushi Legacy. Now, this Civ was crazy. I think I won every single game I played in the tournament with this Civ. So I went 4-0 because I played 4 series. So I think I went 4-0 with Jushi Legacy. So at the start of the tournament, no one was banning Jushi Legacy. Towards the end of it, people started banning it. But I was first picking Jushi Legacy every time. I don't think it's as strong as China, but it's very close to it. So it's kind of like, okay, well, China's banned, I'll just take Jushi Legacy. I just think it's incredibly strong Civ. The pro scouting is strong, the feudal fighting is strong, the castle rushing after that is strong, the ability to just go Mount Lu Academy. You don't really go the Shaolin Monk anymore. Is that what the landmark is called? The Shaolin Monastery? You actually go Mount Lu Academy, and you get the upgrade that makes your Imperial officials upgrade, I think it's like 300%. And you basically just play off of like 2 production buildings, 1 stable and 1 archer range. And you produce Lancers, I think, every 7 seconds or something like that, if you supervise, which is insane. Yeah, Jushi Legacy is really, really good. Really, really, really good. What is Ottoman's weakness? Ottoman's weakness is just how slow it is to get started. But I feel like Ottoman, once it gets started, it's a really, really strong Civ. JD. Oof. JD is considered at the top level just as a weaker French right now. I actually don't know if we've seen any games with JD. I am trying to remember, but I can't remember any games. Maybe there was 1 or 2. It simply just was not picked. I just think there were other picks and priorities in order. So the devs already announced JD was picked 3 times, 1 win. Okay, yeah, I know it was not anyone's prio. I'm assuming like CSO picked it or something like that, because CSO likes playing JD in French. Louis as well, right? We do know that devs announced that JD will get a rework. We don't know when that rework is happening. Hopefully soon, because right now it is. I've said this before, but out of all the variant civs, JD is probably the worst one designed because it's basically identical to French. Except you have slightly weaker eco early on, but you have a hero, so not doing too great. Next one is Order of the Dragon. Order of the Dragon saw a few games, I think, on 4 Lakes specifically, so like a very specific type of pick. Maybe if Holy Island was played more, we would see more Order of the Dragon, but I don't think we've seen it. Someone can correct me on this. I don't think we've seen it even once on land maps, so it had a pretty low pick rate in general, and this is something that's been the same since OTD came out. And basically at that top level, OTD is just not that good. It becomes very hard to defend multiple fronts because you just have half of the units that the enemy does, so it's just a numbers game. Your units are strong, but you cannot defend like 3 different attacks very well. And then we have House of Lancaster, and then we got KT in the end. So House of Lancaster did see a lot of plays. We even saw Abbey of Kings in the tournament, which was between Anatole and Louis, that did not work out. But we did see House of Lancaster quite a bit. I don't think it performed insanely well. I think it got some wins, it got some losses as well. But among pro players, it is not considered to be like even a top 5, top 6 pick anymore. People still do play it. It kind of feels like it's like a safe pick. I don't think it necessarily has super big counters, but it is not overpowered like it used to be, right? So I do think their design is still kind of bad, but I would not say it's like bad or good. I would maybe put it in the realm of French, maybe a bit higher, right? And then Knights Templar, that has seen a lot of play, and the only time it has seen play was on hybrid and water maps, and it did perform decently well. I think I played against KT, I want to say 3 times I played against KT, and I went 3-0 because I specifically practiced Mongol in order to counter KT, because I felt that everyone's going to be first picking KT because we had 3-4 water maps in the tournament. So I felt like, okay, if everyone's going to focus on KT picking, if I just find a counter, then I don't need to ban it or pick it, and then I can get another important pick, right? So I found that Mongol worked quite well. Every series, KT, if it wasn't banned, it was getting picked first, and it was played on hybrid maps, and it pretty much, I feel like, won almost every matchup except when it played against Mongol, because of like Mango dying to castle rushes with towers and stuff like that. But overall, KT is one of those civs that's like, it's S tier civ on water and hybrid, and it's pretty, as I like to call it, XD tier on land maps. It was not played on land maps even once, so that's kind of it. But overall, I would say the biggest surprises in the tournament for me were the performance of Rus, the performance of Japanese. I was a bit surprised that China wasn't played once. I thought someone might let it through, and how efficient and strong I think Byzantine and Malian were in the tournament. Obviously, Jushi, everyone expected they're going to do well. Atri underperformed a little bit, but overall, I feel like there was a lot of interesting play styles in the tournament, and a lot of cool strategies that we have seen. So that's going to be it. I'm going to make a separate video talking about Japanese and perhaps showing you guys some of the games as well in what I mean. But yeah, Japanese did really, really well, and it was definitely the biggest surprise to me. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're watching live, let's keep going and let's talk about Japanese.